The cracks in the housing market are definitely starting to spread. In fact, some sellers are cutting their asking price by $100,000 or more. For example, this home in Columbus, Ohio was originally listed at $575,000 last year. Now that price is $470,000, over a $100,000 price cut, and they still can't sell the property. And according to the latest Redfin data that we're going to review today, nationwide, the median home sale price is now $29,000 below the median asking price. And that's the biggest discount that we've seen since 2020. So sellers are cutting deals, and buyers are gaining leverage, but it's not happening in every metro across the country. So welcome to our weekly Redfin Live housing market update. My name is Jason Ferrier. I'm a realtor and investor outside of Columbus, Ohio. Thank you for joining us today on the Housing Nerd channel. If you came to find the latest housing market data, unfiltered takes on the housing market, and no BS information, you came to the right channel. If you came hoping I would tell you not to buy a home, you came to the wrong channel. I'm also not going to tell you to buy a home. I'm just going to give you the data you need to make an informed decision. All right. Now, the way this live works is we will look at the national data first. Then we're going to jump into the metro level data. And so if you have a metro you want to review, drop it in the comments below. I'm happy to do that. All right. And the other thing is I was going to try to actually dive into some listings, some actual Redfin listings in your market, wherever you live. And maybe we can peck around and see how big the discounts actually are instead of just reviewing the Redfin graphs. Kind of a different format today, maybe, depending on how it goes, and you guys tell me what you think of it, or if you just want me to review the charts. Up to you. So let's get started right now on the national update. It's a lovely, early, I guess, late spring day here in Ohio, and the temperature is definitely heating up. So eventually I'll get chased out of here when it gets too warm. Huh. All right. And by the way, comment below, leave a thumbs up if you join the live. Really appreciate it. Consider subscribing to the Housing Nerd. All right. So the name of this week's Redfin article is just 28% of all homes are selling above asking price, the lowest springtime level since 2020. And they say pending home sales are down 1% year over year, while new listings are still rising, giving buyers negotiating power. So comment below, are you seeing a lot more price cuts in your market? The curious thing is Redfin actually removed the price cut category from the weekly data for some reason. Why they did that, don't know. But it was very strange. It's still in the data, but you can't really access it without pulling it into Excel and going through a whole exercise. The point is, I'd like to know if you see price cuts in your market. And they say basically that the fact that just 28% of homes are selling above the asking price, believe it or not, 28% are selling above the asking price. You may not know that, but that's down from 32%. That's one signal of the shift towards a buyer's market in much of the country. For the sake of comparison, more than half, 53% of homes sold above list price during this period in 2022. Wow. When the housing market was heavily favoring sellers, the share of homes selling above asking price has fallen year over year in all but 5 of the most populous U.S. metro areas. San Jose, Anaheim, Oakland saw the biggest declines, though more than half of homes are still selling above asking price in San Jose and Oakland. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. Let me know if my audio is okay. Hopefully it is. And comment. I'll definitely get to your comments here in a minute. And then they say, here are some other data points illustrating the tilt in favor of the buyer's market and the slower than usual spring market. Data is from 4 weeks ending June 8th. That's what they do. They do like a 4-week rolling average of the last 4 weeks. That's how they do this data. Pending U.S. home sales. Oh, come on, Jay. Pending. Pending U.S. home sales fell 1.1% year over year to their lowest level for this time in our records. Just over 1/3, 37.6% of homes went under contract within 2 weeks. Also, the lowest level for this time of year since 2020. There has been a big gap between the median list price and the median sale price for the last several weeks. The median sale price was $397,000. That's a $28,950 discount, or down 7% from the median list price of roughly $425,950. For comparison, the median sale price was typically much higher than the median list price when the market was favoring sellers in 21 and 2022. So comment, I want to know, do you think it's a buyer's market now where you live? And again, I may jump into some actual listings and see how that goes when I do it live here in a minute, when we look at some metros and kind of peck around in your market and see if we can find any deals. The typical, now they look at a chart here, and it's just more of a picture. It's not really a chart. But typical sale price is nearly $30,000 lower than the typical list price. And you can see that spread. Like back in 2022, you basically had the median sale price at $338, the list price at $358, and then they always chase each other, right? But what they're saying is that gap now is the largest it's been since 2020. That's what they're saying. Now, that could be there's just more expensive homes being listed, and the cheaper homes are selling, right? Because the median price is the sale price in the middle. It's not the price, it's not the average. So if you've got a bunch of homes on the market, 100 homes listed, but like 30 of them, pretend 30 of those homes are, really expensive on the market. And then there's a bunch of homes that are like median priced, and those happen to sell, but the more expensive homes aren't selling. Well, it could be that the list price is inflated, but the actual sale price is lower. So that's possible. It could also be that sellers just are unrealistic. It's probably called, you could probably classify it as wish pricing, right? I wish I would get this price. I hope I get this price. And those people are normally want to sell, not need to sell people. Want to sell people won't really discount their home that much. Need to sell are like, hey, pulling fire alarms, I got to discount it enough to sell it. Like that home that we just looked at in Columbus, and I'm going to get to the listings here in a minute. They, that was discounted by $100,000, right? Over $100,000 since they listed the property. Do they need to sell the property? Well, if they needed to really sell the property, they would have discounted that thing a lot more, a lot quicker, because it's been on the market since last year. Must not need to sell it. Otherwise, they're like delusional. Okay. Then they say prospective home buyers are sidelined by widespread economic uncertainty and high housing costs. The median monthly housing payment is just $29 shy of an all-time record, with mortgage rates near 7% and sale prices up 1.6% year over year, though sale prices are lower than list prices. Well, we know that. We know that. But I will say, and I'm surprised they didn't mention this, according to what I'm looking at, the median sale price in the U.S. actually hit a record, according to the Redfin data, but they didn't mention it for some reason. I thought that was odd. It's still tough for many Americans to buy a home. No kidding. Tell us something we don't know, as affordability remains a real challenge. But house hunters should know that sellers are accepting offers below asking price and giving concessions to get deals done, said Chen Zhao, Redfin's head of economic research. Buyers have negotiating power, especially if they're flexible on timing or location, or if they're willing to take on a fixer-upper. Buyers should negotiate and be prepared to move on to other homes if a seller is unwilling to meet them halfway. Then, they may be able to get a better deal elsewhere. So this type of attitude to me is what you should always look at when you're buying a home. Like, don't get obsessed with one property. I mean, unless you've got gobbles and gobbles of money, or unless you find like a home in a market where there's never any for sale, then I guess, you know, if you really want the home, you want to live there, you're gonna have to do what you have to do. But generally speaking, probably a better idea just to go, you know what? I don't have to have that house. So I'm able to go get a better deal somewhere else, maybe if the seller doesn't play ball. But I'd like to know from you. Comment and let me know. How do you negotiate with real estate? What are your tips and tactics? Like, do you have any tips that the other viewers could use? I mean, I'm not a wizard. I'm not the housing wizard. That'd be kind of a cool channel name, but I'm actually the housing nerd. So I don't know everything. So I want to know from you, what are your ideas? I could probably learn something from you. On the selling side, new listings are up 5.2% year over year. That's not good, folks. That part is probably the worst data set in here if you're hoping for a crash. There are many more home sellers than buyers in the market. We know that. But it's worth noting that mortgage purchase applications are up 10% week over week. They're actually up, I think, 20% year over year. Can you believe that? Signaling that pending home sales could improve soon. They haven't improved yet. They're still down 1.1% year over year nationally, basically saying, hey, there's 1.1% fewer homes going into contract than last year. But the fact that new listings are only up 5.2%, that's telling me that overall in the US, there's not a lot of distress. There's just not. Even Real Estate Mindset, Travis, he mentioned a few videos ago on his Redfin update, hey, there's no distress in the market right now that he's seen because new listings aren't rising that much. But comment below and tell me if you think there's distress. I mean, obviously everything's local, right? You know, obviously, but you know, overall nationwide, it's like there's not a ton of distress. Otherwise, you would see new listings skyrocket. Not to say there won't be distress, but right now, I'm not seeing a ton. Mostly want to sell, not need to sell. Daily average 30-year fixed mortgage rate. So we're going to look at the indicators of home buying demand and activity. And this is where I will go to Mortgage News Daily and take a look at the current rates, where they are. So they are at 6.85. They just came down, it looks like. Is that a big discount? Not really. Not really. I mean, it's floating in that upper bound range, right? I mean, you can kind of see over here on the chart on the right, it's kind of just floating around between what? Well, lately it's been in between 7.5, 7.1, and, you know, 6.5, 6.9, whatever. So it's just kind of range bound, I guess you could call it. I keep having ants crawl on me out here on the porch. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of people project that rates are going to stay sticky unless the administration does something goofy and decides to artificially change them somehow. But yeah, rates could be this, you know, could be in the high sixes, low sevens for a while. But comment and tell me, where do you think rates will be by the end of this year? Or do you think they'll next year even get below 6%? I don't know. I was speaking to somebody yesterday at a real estate event here in Columbus who said that they bought I believe it was a condo in New York City. They bought like back in 1989. And I think their interest rate was like 15%. I think they only paid like 180 grand for it, right? But their interest rate was like 14, 15%, like mid double digits. And they refied at 11%. And they were like, this is great. I mean, if rates went to 15% now, look out. That'd be major pain. Major pain. All right, so that's daily average 30-year fixed mortgage rate, 6.89, but we just looked 6.85. Last year, look how much it was last year, 7.17. So the fact that we're very close to the record high mortgage payment, very close, tells me that prices have continued to go up, even though rates are down year over year from 7.17 to 6.89. Mortgage purchase applications, check this out, folks. Up 10% from a week earlier, up 20% year over year, 20%. So either one of two things is going on, because pending sales aren't higher, and pending sales are not closed sales. When a house goes into contract, that's pending. So the fact that pending sales are up or I'm sorry, are down 1.1%. But mortgage purchase applications are up 20%. And they've been up, I think, like 16 or 17 weeks in a row. They've been up, week over week. So it's like more people are applying for mortgages, but they're not putting homes in contract. So they're either looking for homes and being patient, or they are not getting approved, right? Because they're not buying homes. I'm not seeing that. Excuse me. Redfin home buyer demand index, we'll skip that. That's a waste of time. Touring activity. How many people are going through home tours, right? Scheduling showings with realtors like me. Up 23% from the start of the year. Last year, it was up 23% from the start of the year. I guess it's flat at the end of the day. Google searches for homes, up 17% from a month earlier. So a lot of there's more people looking for homes on Google, up 10% year over year. So maybe people are looking, hoping for a deal, not finding it, not making an offer, not going into contract. I don't know. But there are people still buying homes. We'll probably do close to 4 million transactions this year, give or take 100 grand or 100,000 listings. So we'll probably do near 4 million transactions. But people do still buy and sell homes. All right, now we're going to look at the data for the top 400 metros to see what's happening with some leading indicators. Median sale price, $397,000, up 1.6% year over year. It looks like it's not wanting to come down underneath 2024. It's just not. Median asking price, that's what they were talking about at the beginning, up 4.9%. Median monthly mortgage payment, you can see that there, $29 shy of the record high. Pending sales, how many homes going into contract? 87,720, down 1.1%. Here's that new listing thing, right? We talked about this. 104,594 units, 104,594, up 5.2%. Just not a lot. I mean, it's more than we've had, obviously, but it's not as many as we don't have as many new listings hitting the market that we did back in 2022. Crazy, right? Active listings. This is like, they didn't mention this in their article either, but we have 1.14 million active listings, 13.9% increase versus last year. Not really that many. According to Realtor.com data, not Redfin, but Realtor.com data, here in Columbus, we're up 56% in Franklin County year over year with active inventory. 56%, but I went on a hunt for inexpensive homes this week. Not a lot out there. Not a lot to buy. I expected maybe some fix and flips out there that I could kind of poke around on the edges. Nah. Still got to buy off market, folks. That's how you get the best deal. Months of supply. In fact, we have somebody on the channel who bought or was getting ready to, I think, close or go into contract off market with a seller. And so I think they're probably on today. They're from upper Northern Ohio. Months of supply, 3.9. This is coming down now. This was at 4 last week. And see, I think what you're seeing is there are a lot of listings that just stay on the market. They're stale and the people remove them, right? The seller removes the listing. Happens a lot. They'll go out and list it with another agent. That usually doesn't change things. Unless the second agent convinces them to list it at a lower price, then it'll change things. But if they just list it at the same price, not going to change anything. All right, share of homes off the market 2 weeks or less, 37.6, down from 41. Median days on market, 36. That's up 5 days. At one point, this was like 50 days. So this is like coming down as well. Still more days to sell a house than last year, but not, it's not like you're 50 days anymore. Share of homes sold above list prices is that thing they talked about at the beginning, 28.5, down from 32%. Average sale to list price ratio, this is definitely coming down, 99.1, down from 99.6 last year. So you may not think it, but 0.5% on 100 grand is what? $500? Well, it's $2,500 if you're looking at a $500,000 home. So there is a discount there. Redfin's metro level data is next. And this is all about like their best markets and worst markets, depending on the category. After this, I'll get to the comments for 10, 15 minutes or so. Then we'll dive into the individual metros. All right, metros with the biggest year-over-year increases in home price, median sale price. Detroit, 8.7. New York, 5.7. Pittsburgh, 5.6. Virginia Beach, 5.3. Chicago, Illinois, 5.2. Yeah, I was just talking to somebody from Virginia Beach yesterday, and they said prices there are still high, no doubt. And Pittsburgh's relentless. New York is. Detroit definitely is. Chicago is. Like all these markets just are resilient, very resilient markets. Metros with the biggest year-over-year decrease: Oakland, Dallas, Jacksonville, Tampa, San Diego. Wow. Cincinnati, Chicago, Indianapolis, Montgomery County, PA, Cleveland, Ohio, all up the most in pending sales. So wow, Cincinnati up 10%, my neighbor to the south. In pending sales. Where are pending sales dropping the most? Miami, down 21.7. Wow. San Jose, Las Vegas, Fort Lauderdale, and Fort Worth, Texas. New listings. Where are they rising the most? Houston, Columbus, Boston, Indianapolis, and Cincinnati. Notice Columbus isn't on here for pending sales, just new listings. So we're definitely building inventory here. But it must be expensive inventory because I went out and, like I said, hunted for some inexpensive stuff. Couldn't find it. Fort Worth, Tampa, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, and Dallas take the worst areas for new listings, or the areas that are performing the worst, and they're down. So what's crazy is, think about this. Those areas, Fort Worth, I mean, all of them. Yeah, all those areas, I would say if you asked any housing YouTuber, any housing person that follows national housing data, certainly anybody who watches the headlines of the housing market, would say that these areas, Fort Worth, Tampa, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Dallas, would all be higher with new listings. Like that's where the inventory you would think would show up the most, because those are like the areas with a lot of new construction, and it's all supposed to cave in and crash, but the new listings are down. The other thing I think is going on is a lot of condos are being listed, but if you separate out the condos, I bet the data looks way different. That's kind of the narrative that I'm getting. I know it's not a narrative, maybe just the fact. All right, let me get to some comments. I got 77 people on. Thanks for joining us. Hit the thumbs up. Don't be a freeloader. All right. Hello, chat. Blue Bonnie, what's happening? Hey, Chris, what's happening? Don't be a freeloader. Like and subscribe. Thank you, Chris. Hello. How are you doing? Yep, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Right. Yeah, you're up there in Michigan. I'd like to see some listings. Yeah, I'm going to try that today. As we dive into these metros, I'm going to attempt to do it. And it may bore some people, right? People may not like it on the rewatch, but I thought it would be interesting to kind of go into some data and peck around and see like actual listings. And you guys are gonna have to tell me where to go, because I don't know these cities, right? I can tell you where to go in Columbus and Central Ohio, but if I go to Cleveland or Grand Rapids or Vegas, I don't know where to go. So you're gonna have to help me out there once I dive into that. What's up, Kelly? Hey, everyone. What's up, Doggy? Hi, Doggy. Just like the room, right? And I'm free falling. Yeah, if I wouldn't get righted, I could put that song in there, but they would nail me big time on that. Our family just sold a house in El Cerritos. Are you surprised I know how to say that? California for 1.4, $600K over asking. What? Man. Did you, so I want to know if, and I'm assuming you're telling me the truth, Mike. I have no reason not to believe you, but tell us more details behind that. Like, did you list it thinking that it was going to sell at 900,000? And then you got tons of offers, or did you like purposely price it under the market? Wow. Wow. Trump has successfully ruined the economy. You would expect this. Oh, Yeah, I don't know if he has or not. I mean, some stuff that's going on out there is wacky, wacky to say the least. Mike, it's all regional, local. That's true. That's why he's telling us about Cerritos. There's so many factors, big trends, Sunbelt exodus, though, the second home and Airbnb selling. Yeah, a lot of people don't like Airbnb. Yeah, Mike, I'd just like to know more details on that sale. Half a Home Depot is made in China. Who was just terrified? That's a funny way to say it. Stunfish, what's up? Good afternoon. Yes, lots of price cuts in Northwest Arkansas. However, I'd blame a big part on realtors. I blame a big part of realtors. They think most houses are still worth $200 a square foot. Lots of houses going for less than $180 a square foot. Okay. I mean, I get that you're saying that, but I'm not saying realtors don't try to overprice homes, but like I want the home to be successful. I want it to sell as a realtor. Oftentimes the seller, believe it or not, pushes the prices higher because they're like, hey, I want a higher price. And so if I try to be realistic with them, sometimes they come back with a price that's higher. And believe it or not, there's been situations where I price it lower, they price it higher, and then we get a higher price. And I'm like, oh, I guess you were right. But I get your point. Yeah, you got to do your own market research, right? Just don't take a realtor's word for it. I just talked to somebody this morning who they're selling their house. They said, no, I think the house is worth more than what the realtor said. I think they may be correct. So the first realtor came in and gave him a price. I may have a shot to come in and help them out with the listing. I don't know. Midwest is still stable. There aren't excess units available generally in the Midwest, generally speaking. Oh, okay, here's your detail on that house. You sold for 1.4 million. It's been in the family a long time. One down the street is having issues selling. Okay. But like, how did you get 600K over asking on a $900,000 house? You must have had like 30 offers. Was it like a fix and flip for somebody? Did somebody buy it like an investor? Wow. Jason, phenomenal real-time coverage. Keep it up. Could you check Berkeley County, West Virginia? I know that area well. When you get a second. Many thanks. Yeah, let me put that on here. I'll star that. Look. Oh, if you haven't already, Martinsburg, West Virginia. I've been there many times. Yeah, I'll check that one out. I don't know they market that well in real estate. You'll have to help me when I dive into it, but yeah. My dad bought our Connecticut Colonial at 15% interest. Crazy times. Savings and loan scandal. Yeah, my parents bought their house. They paid 50 grand for it, and the interest rate, I remember my father telling me recently, was like 12.5%. I mean, housing payments would be like nuts now if it was 15% or 12% or whatever. I'm just looking for some other comments here. Anybody who else wants a market to be analyzed? Sellers finding new agents to relist, buyers rotating agents to find one that will send low ball offers. Yeah, listen, if you go out and try to find a realtor to work with on the buying side and they won't help you by sending in lower offers, like, find a new agent. Now, having said that, be realistic. Like, believe it or not, it takes the same amount of time to send a lowball offer in that it does a normal offer. Same amount of time, same amount of work, right? For the realtor and you, by the way. So if a home's been listed for 2 days or 4 days or 5 days and homes are all selling within 10 days in that area, sending a lowball offer in doesn't probably make much sense. But if the home's been listed well over the days on market, then lowball offers are fine. But generally speaking, make sure you hunt around for an agent that's going to work with you and knows what you want to do, and tell them up front. Tell them, say, I'm not going to pay what a seller's asking. I don't care if we look at 100 homes. I'm not going to pay it. So prepare to work with me in that fashion. Negotiate in the buyer contract, right? You got to sign a buyer agent agreement now. Negotiate that. Tell them, put it in there if you want, right in there. I'm going to send lowball offers in. Are you cool with that? South Lake Tahoe. I've been there too. It's a beautiful area. Newark, New Jersey. Yes, sir, JR. How you doing? Thanks for joining us. I'm getting all kinds of requests here. Asheville, North Carolina. Yeah, that'd be a great one to look at. Wow, I wonder how it's going there. I wonder how the cleanup's going. My mother used to live there, actually. That's a great market too. I mean, it's a beautiful area, a beautiful area. I don't know if it's a great market. I don't know about the real estate there. I bought the house and got 3% seller's credit. Good for you. It covered all closing costs and significant rate buy down. I also got $30,000 discount on a $475,000 house. Buyer's market here in Sacramento. Well done. I need like a button, like a round of applause, like sound effect button. But great job, Alexia. Is that how you say it? Alexi? I don't know. Yes, great job. Awesome. I love seeing that. Well done for you. Now, I'm curious, did you look at a lot of houses? Did you look at like 100 houses? Or did you look at like 2 houses? Was it a new build? I'd like to know. And remember, markets with what? I don't know about that. Listings on Realtor have nearly doubled in the last 6 months in Maine. Prices are still outrageous. No one can afford anything. Yeah, so that tells me that people don't need to sell yet, because you'll see it in the numbers. You'll see if somebody, and it'll actually say in the listing, I've helped people sell houses that need to sell. It says motivated seller. Like in the listing, the seller tells me, Jason, put in motivated seller or entertaining all offers. They're not doing that. Clown world, if you think Trump actually orchestrated this, it goes way beyond Trump. Oh, no, I don't think he orchestrated any of this necessarily. I just think the stuff they're doing is strange with what they're planning to do anyway with, interest rates and the shadow Fed president or Fed chairman, and trying to, tell the Fed to cut rates when inflation is still raging. We don't need lower rates right now. That wouldn't help the average person. It would help their debt payment, but wouldn't help the average person, I don't think, because I think prices would go up if it trickles through the 10-year, obviously, right? But thanks for joining us, John, by the way. Thank you. I would not pay $200 a square foot for anything. Yeah, some would, some wouldn't. I would love to see you showing some data analysis for the Hampton Road real estate market. Hampton Road, Virginia, right? Is that what you're saying? Gotcha. How much should you lowball offer? Are you asking me, Blue Bonnie? Depends on the deal. It really depends. I mean, you're not going to go to jail for making a lower offer. The closer you get to the asking price, the more chance you have to get it accepted. Obviously, that's a stupid thing to say probably, but it's something to keep in mind. So I always like to look at the deal and say, all right, what's the max price I'm willing to pay? What's my optimal price I want to pay? And start there, right? And then have a max price though that you're willing to pay. Some people I know will make an offer and then they make it again, but it's lower. I mean, then you really are having fun, right? You're like, hey, here's my offer. It's 100 grand. And then you call them, you send in another offer like a month later if it hasn't sold. My offer is 85 grand. It kind of tells them that maybe the price is going to keep going down, right? I've seen so many TikToks of people with buyer's remorse. There's people out there that want to trade places with buyers because they have so many issues with their homes. I don't want to be that homeowner. Completely understand. I completely understand. So then look at why they have buyer's remorse. I know exactly what you're saying, Alex. Thanks for joining us, by the way. The TikToks, I've seen them. They look at what they're having problems with, why they have the remorse, and then make sure you're not doing those things. So generally it's about price and finances, right? So if you can barely afford the house, that's not a good idea to probably buy it. You have to plan in property taxes and insurance, obviously, and plan in increases in those. Plan on all the maintenance that goes into it. If you do all that and you do it correctly, and you have a great debt to income ratio when you're looking at buying a property, you keep it well under what they recommend. Sometimes they recommend 33, sometimes they recommend 28% of your income, right? Go below that. I'm not going to do anything over 20%, for example, whatever your case calls for, and then have money on the sidelines ready to go in case you lose your job. And remember that and try to find a house and a deal where, hey, I can work at McDonald's and still make my payment. That's ideally what you want. Used to work for a developer who said, if you're not embarrassed by your first offer, it's too high. Great advice. I think the same thing. I often tell people that, or if you make that offer and the seller doesn't go, yikes, that's low, probably too high. Again, though, that's only if you're okay with walking away from the deal. That wasn't directed at you personally, Jason. Oh, yeah, I know, John. You're good. I'm just messing around. It's all good. Okay, thank you for all those comments. And I got the 1 star. So let's dive into these metros. So the first one I'm going to look at is, well, I guess I got to go to Columbus, right? Because I got to start there. I got too excited. So let's see how I can do this. I don't want each one to go too long. So let me just buzz through the new listings, actives, and price in each metro. And then as we go, I'll actually go into the market itself. Now, I'm going to use Redfin to look at the listings, not Zillow. And there's a reason why I'm doing that. I'll show you in a minute. Kind of a change they made. All right, new listings in Columbus, Ohio. We always start with Ohio because I'm from Ohio, or I live there now. And a lot of people on here from Ohio. By the way, I have an Ohio Housing Nerd channel. You should check that out. Called the Ohio Housing Nerd. 12.4% up in new listings year over year in Columbus. Wow. All right. Active listings. Look at active listings go. Up 21.97% now, according to Redfin data. According to Realtor.com data, we're at like 56% increase year over year. But that was for the month of May. That was for the entire month of May. So a lot more inventory here. Let's look at median sale price. Look at median sale price. This is an all-time high in Columbus. All-time high. $363,000. Goodness gracious. Okay, so let's go into this. So this is Redfin, obviously, and I'm looking for, and this is how I'm looking for homes for sale, just to kind of peck around and see what kind of deals out there, how many price cuts there are. The reason why I'm using Redfin instead of Zillow, a lot of people use Zillow to look online for a house. The problem with Zillow is they removed, at least on the desktop version, they removed the ability to sort it by, or to hunt for price discounts. Like any price cuts, you can't click a button and say, I want to know everything with a price discount. The other thing about Redfin that I really like is they'll put the houses into a table in the search so you can kind of scan them and sort them and then go and look at them. I like that. That makes it a lot easier. So I showed you this one. Let's look at this house here. This house here was a home that I talked about at the beginning. It's in the city of Columbus, basically, but it started out at $575,000. And you guys comment and tell me if this helps, if you want me to continue doing this, or you only want me to look at the charts. I thought this would be a good change of pace. December 9th, 2024, they listed it at $575,000. It looks like somebody bought it. Maybe the flipper bought it. I'm not sure. Bought it in 2022 at $375,000. Looks like they bought it off market. No, they didn't buy it off market. They bought it on the MLS. It was actually listed at, wow. Yeah, look at that. It was listed at $495,000 in 2021. Couldn't get it. Finally, it sold. That's a huge discount. It actually sold at $375,000. Jeez. And it was on the market for almost a year in 2021. That's an example, I think, of a seller being completely crazy with their price and probably not needing to sell until they didn't get any offers that made sense. And finally, somebody negotiated them all the way down. Once they hit $399, they got an offer at $375 and took it, or whatever they got, right? And now listed now for $575. Maybe they upgraded the home. I don't know. We'll look here in a minute. But then they cut the price 1, 2, 3. Then they removed the listing. Then they changed the price to $540 and relisted the property. Changed the price again, $530, $515, $505, $490, $485, $475, $470. Man. But yeah, let's look at the house real quick. So it's a nice house. Like, you can kind of see, I mean, it's kind of that millennial gray, they call it, right? Vinyl floors, gray paint. I don't know if that's virtually staged or not, or if that's really staged. Could be virtual, it's hard to tell. They're supposed to note that, but it doesn't look like they did. Looks like they've got Lowe's cabinets that you buy at Lowe's or Home Depot, nothing special. They got a wine cooler. It could have been an Airbnb. You know, I see this here, a lock going to this door there. I don't know if that's a combination lock or not, but it could be an Airbnb. Could be. Hard to tell. But yeah, it's a nice home. But they may have overdone it for the area because, and you know, they priced it really high. So that's an example here in Columbus. I'll pull up one more in Columbus, and then I'll get to another metro. I found this one. This one isn't a $100,000 cut, but this is a new build in Columbus on Oakwood Avenue, $619,000, 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,306 square feet. Look at this. Been on the market 236 days. So they listed it coming soon. I'm sorry, when they listed it, it was $695. Then $649, $635, listing removed, then relisted. Well, then they removed it again for some reason. I'm not sure why. That was last year. They actually listed the home in April, almost a year, well, over a year ago. Goodness gracious. So that, when they say 265 days on market above, not true. Actually, it's been on the market longer than that. Because when you come down here in the actual details, you see it has been listed longer. Here's where it's getting to 200 and some days because they're pulling it from their most recent listing. But then they dropped it to 635, 629, now 619. They cut the price just at the end of last month. Look at this, though. I want to show you the taxes. Look at the taxes on this thing. $7,900 a year in taxes. Now, if you're not from Columbus, you don't know this area, but that's a lot. I'll just tell you, that's a lot. And it shows you an example of what happens when you look at an empty lot. The empty lot was probably $1,200 a year in taxes. Actually, $268 in taxes. Then somebody bought the land probably. It went up to $1,200. Then they built the house. Now it's $8,000. That's why you're seeing a lot of those TikTok people freaking out because they're buying new houses and going, oh no, taxes are actually $8,000, not $1,200. I mean, assessed value is still only $172,000. So are they going to get reappraised? Maybe. But I think they're over their skis on this one. But what do you guys think? Do you guys like this? Does this help? Oh, I got a super chat. Hold on one second. I got to bring this up. Thanks for the info last time. Can we look at Nashville, Murfreesboro, and Chattanooga, please? I'm waiting until November to start ordering on houses. I heard the house prices drop a lot in the winter. True. Houses, if you're looking for a deal, winter is the best time. Holidays are by far the best time. Like if you can look at like a house on Christmas Day, on Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, Thanksgiving Day, I found deals on those days because people were like, I can't believe someone's looking for looking at our properties on this day. Thank you for the super chat, Kyle. Very much appreciated. That's my pizza money for tomorrow night. I always use pizza money for or my super chats for pizza. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Kyle. All right. I'm just looking to see if you guys like this. I guess you guys do. I don't know. Hopefully you do. Okay, let's keep going. So that was Columbus. Now let's go to Cleveland. Cleveland, Ohio. New listings in Cleveland, Ohio. Up 10% year over year. So we know there are more new listings, and they're up there on pending sales too. We'll look at that briefly. Pending sales. Oh, I thought they were up more. Up 3.5%. So they're not down at least. So there are people buying homes in Cleveland. What about median sale price? Up 3% year over year. Is that an all-time high? I think it is. Yeah. According to Redfin data, that's an all-time high in Cleveland. Cleveland Metro anyway. 248 grand active inventory. What are we doing there? 9.4% up year over year, 4,726. It's a 4-year high for active inventory. I mean, not up near the same amount that Columbus is, where Columbus is up 50%. Well, according to Realtor.com data. According to Redfin, they're up, what, 20%. Okay, now let me go to this. And somebody's going to have to tell me where to look in Cleveland. Where should I look? Where should I look? Everyone's kind of juggling 5 things at once here. Chris, where should I look? Are you still on? If you are, tell me. I'm just going to kind of peck around here for a second. So I can go to days on Redfin. See, I can sort this. If you see down here at the bottom, I can actually sort days on Redfin, where Zillow, you can't do this. In fact, when you put in, you know, how long it's been on the market, like you want to see anything over 180 days on the market on Zillow, it still shows you houses that were just listed. It's really annoying. But on Redfin, we can sort it. So, oh, that's 12 days. All right, 429 days. Have they had any price decreases? Wow, look at this thing. 65 grand. $65,000. I mean, it's beat up. I mean, that needs everything, right? This house needs everything, it looks like. It's down to the studs. I guess they did that. They at least cleaned the thing out. But it's got the old lath in there. Yeah, looks like a rental or a flip probably, but it's 65 grand. Will that cash flow? I don't know. Seems high. I mean, before COVID, you would probably pay $10,000 for that house, right? Let's see how many price cuts they've had, if any. Wow, look how many times it's been on. Look at this. It was sold in June 29th, 2023 in Cleveland for $74,000. It was listed at $69,900. Somebody paid cash for it, probably. That means pending usually is cash. 74 grand, so they paid more than asking. Then they turned around and maybe they just kept it for a few months. They listed it at 99 grand January of 2024, over a year ago. Then 95 grand, then listing removed, then listing changed to 85, then down to 79, then went into contract contingent, then 69,000, then relisted again after it went contingent and then pending. So it's been in and out of contract multiple times. And it looks like, I could be wrong, but it looks like the same person that bought the house is now listed the house for basically less than they sold it, or less than they bought it for. At $65,900, they just dropped the price. And it could be somebody who bought it thinking they were going to flip it or rent it and then ran out of money. Rehabs are really expensive. Like, people think, oh, investors are making tons of money, like they're just rolling in cash. I mean, it's no joke now. With debt rate the way it is on a house like this, it's probably, I mean, the pictures are in the winter still, so you know it's an old listing. I mean, there could be 150 grand there in work, at least 100, because you're going to probably have to do all the plumbing, all the electric, all the drywall, probably structural, all the windows, a roof, the siding. And so if you put 100 grand into it, and you pay 100 and you pay 65 grand, You need to rent the thing with taxes for probably, what are the taxes? Let's look. You probably have to rent it for $1,800 a month to make it make sense. Let's look at the tax history. Well, the taxes, yeah, look at the taxes, $632, but that's on an assessed value of $8,330. I mean, that's going to go up a lot. And when it does, that owner will get whacked with it. So this is a great example of like buying a flip or buying something you think you're going to rent out and realizing, man, there's a lot more work here than I thought. I mean, you have to come up with $100,000 to $150,000, and you're going to have to borrow it at 10, 11%, maybe 9 if you're lucky, unless you just have the cash sitting around. Obviously they don't, because they're just now they're selling the property again. Anyway, that was a good one to look at. Let me see if Chris is on and can tell me where to go. I don't see him. I don't see him. All right, I'll keep going. I'll keep looking. Whoops. All right, back to this thing. I'll do one more in Cleveland, then I'll move on. Actually, you know what? I'll move on now. Sorry, Chris. Let's do Cincinnati real quick. And then let me jump into the graph. Cincinnati, Ohio. New listings in Cincinnati. What do we got? Whoa. 736 units, up 10%. And I think, were they the ones with pending sales up a lot? Pending sales up 10%. So people are buying more than last year, but not buying as much as 2022. And then median sale price, what's going on there? Up just 1%, but it's a 4-year high. So Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati all have 4-year highs, actually all-time highs. Forget 4-year highs, all-time highs on prices. All-time highs. Crazy. Crazy. Active listings, what do we got? Oops, shit. Forgot to share the screen. 8.58% active listings. Okay. Sorry, guys, for not sharing that correctly. All right, now we're in Cincinnati. And see, if you have a search built in here, then you go to a new area, it just carries a search over again. I don't think Zillow does that either. Days on Redfin. This house here, new construction. I don't want a new construction. Here's a good one to look at. See listing. Right here. Oh, it's a pretty house on the outside, right? I hate it when people don't put hardware on cabinets and flips. Look at that. You got to put hardware on. Come on. I mean, these are like Lowe's, Home Depot cabinets called Diamond Now. That's what that looks like. Standard flip cabinets, standard flip flooring, standard flip paint. All right, nothing crazy there. It looks like newer drywall for the most part. It's got like a bonus room upstairs, tiled shower, yada, 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 carpet on the stairs. Is that a basement? Is that what that is? Yeah, I got a basement. Pictures are not fantastic, but it is what it is. Let me look and see how long it's been on the market. $393 days. 393 days. Beautiful 2-story single-family home that's been fully renovated, new appliance, ready to move in. Must be something going on with the house, why they haven't sold it yet. I mean, that's a long time to be on the market when it's renovated. Just think about this for a second. Unless you're someone who doesn't need to sell the house, like you're an investor who's like, I don't care. It could take 2 years to sell the house, 4 years, don't care. I mean, this home's been sitting there for over a year after you put in all that money to renovate the thing. Your money's just sitting there. Can't extract it. Looks like it's sold. Let's see if we can figure it out. Well, it looks like they bought it. Look at this. Talk about the GFC. People are like, hey, I want prices 60% off retail, right? Well, back in the GFC, it looks like this person may have purchased the property, may have let it sit there. I don't know. I'm just speculating on that. But bought it for $26,000. So maybe they have tons of houses, right? And they're like, nah, we'll let it sit. But then when they listed it at 320. Looks like after the renovation. And then they removed it a few months later, then relisted it at 329, higher by $9,900. Then removed it, then relisted it again for 315, lower, then lowered the price to 245. So that's a what? I mean, it's almost $100,000 discount. It's approaching it. 75,000. What about the taxes? Yeah, $2,500. Look at that increase in taxes. Look at that. Wow. Went from $933 a year to $2,568 in 1 year. Up 175% in taxes. And that the investor, I assume it's an investor, they have to carry that every month. They've got to make that tax payment, twice a year. Right? So every 6 months they're paying $1,200, and they should have insurance on it. They got to pay the utility bills in the winter, especially in the winter, right? Being an investor in real estate can be great, but it can also be difficult. And I think people are starting to see that now. But it can also be a great thing. Don't get me wrong. I love real estate investing. It's one of my passions, but you got to buy it right. I mean, he did buy it right at $26,000, but maybe come back down to reality when you list it. Okay, so let me go to, that was Cincinnati. All right, where should I go next? I got some 1 stars here. Oh, this would be a fun market to do. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Who knows what we're going to find? Let's try it. The Grand Rapids, Ohio. Who would have known? Hillside Drive. What's this one like? Let's look at this one. $315,000. Been on the market 186 days. Built in 1880. Look at that. Wow. 1880. $126 a square foot. Let's look at some pictures. Shoot. I keep forgetting to do that. Let's look at some pictures. I mean, it looks like maybe it was a rental. Somebody was living there pretty recently. 6-bed, 2-bath. Could be a duplex. Is it a duplex? The floor plan, that's what it looks like. That's not a floor plan. Street view. Let me look and see is it a duplex? New lower prices, 6-bedroom, 2-bath home is located in walking distance from shopping. Very close to 131 and 196 highways. Very spacious, yada, yada, yada. Air conditioning, bonus room. It's not a multifamily. I thought it was, but it's not. 6 bedrooms, though. That's a big house. Let's look at the prices and see what happened. Price history. Oh, not a lot of price history. They dropped it 1 time, it looks like. Oh, no. That's not right. They put it on the market in December 7th, 2024, listed as active, $329,000. Price change to $315,000. Huh, that's just like duplicate. So I guess they cut it 1 time. That's it. Huh. All right, let me pick another one. Like when I'm looking at homes here, single family houses, they with price cuts, there's not a lot that have been listed a ton of time comparatively to Cleveland or Columbus. Like the days on market isn't as high, it doesn't look like. $199,000 for this one. That's a pretty house. Millennial gray, millennial white trim, right? Original cabinets, not original, but older cabinets, right? That's not a bad strategy on a flip, by the way. You're trying to flip under the median price, which you probably should if you're going to flip a home. flip something that is affordable, leaving the old cabinets there and just sprucing them up or cleaning them is a great way to save some money, because you may have to put a lot of money into the roof or the windows or the foundation or something to make the home solid. They've got, looks like they have wood windows, older windows, laminate flooring maybe. Yeah, it could have been a rental. Not a horrible looking home. Let's look and see how long it's been on the market. Been on the market 136 days. Okay, here's the history. Geez. Looks like it was listed for $240. Is that right? Yeah. $240 back in December 27th, 2024. Then they changed the price to $234, went into contract, came out of contract, went back on the market at $225, went into contract, came out of contract, $220, $215, $210, $199. So originally $240, that's a $40,000, off of list price. It still hasn't sold. Maybe because it went into contract and came out, went in, came out, scared some people away. The taxes, same thing. Look at the taxes from 22 to 23. Look at that, $2,397 to $4,123. Crazy. Crazy to see these tax increases. All right, let me now look at the Grand Rapids. I forgot to do that. Let me look at the Grand Rapids market overall. I should have done that at the beginning. New listings in Grand Rapids up 7.6%. Active inventory up 12%. That's a 4-year high for active inventory. And let me just do median sale price. Look at median sale price in Grand Rapids. $364,000. Homes are expensive there. You can kind of tell the market's tighter there, though, right now anyway, because there aren't a ton of homes listed for like 300 days, 400 days. Like there was a couple listed for over 100 days, and they only had their price, they did have discounts, but I didn't see any listed for like 300 days, like I did in Columbus and Cincinnati and Cleveland. Okay, what's the next metro? Okay, let's do this one. Nashville, Murfreesboro, and Chattanooga. That's a lot of them. Can I pick one? Let me do Nashville. Let me do Nashville. Nashville, Tennessee. Median sale price in Nashville. It's an all-time high. $486,000 up. What's that? 2%? Jeez. Man. That's something else. I mean, I wouldn't expect that. Houses there are expensive. They are, I mean, I do expect that they're expensive, but I wouldn't expect it's an all-time high now. New listings, what are those doing in Tennessee? Up 8%, 1,031 new listings. But what about active listings, you say? 20%, 12,780. All right, now let's look at Nashville, Tennessee. Let's look at the market there. Huh, look at this. Look at this house, this right here. It's $2.65 million. New construction. I don't want to look at new construction unless you want me to. That's a lot. New construction. All right. So yeah, let's look at this one. Been on the market for 282 days. Look at this thing. 5,000 square feet, 8-bed, 5-bath. Why do you need 5 bathrooms? But it's pretty, very pretty house. But older probably. I mean, it is older, right? So it could need things. It looks like the pictures were taken by the owner. I mean, if you have a house that's 1.4, 1.5 million